Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5:30.
We're learning new information about what led up to a hit-and-run crash that put one man in the hospital and a former Lexington firefighter in jail.
Construction is now underway on what will become a brand new city hall for the city of Somerset. It'll be called the Energy Center.
All of these items were part of a multi-million-dollar scam that ensnarled innocent job seekers. How it really happened coming up.
WKYT News at 5:30 starts now. Good evening. A former Lexington firefighter charged in a hit-and-run crash last Friday returned to court this morning.
Jared McCargo is accused of driving drunk and crashing his SUV into the beer trap in Chevy Chase, critically injuring a man. Police say McCargo then took off. WKYT's Sean Moody was in the courtroom today. He has details on what led up to that crash. It's our top story at 5:30.
Well, the judge forwarded this case on to a grand jury. She also granted the defense's request to reduce McCargo's bond to 10% of that initial $13,000 amount. McCargo was in court for a preliminary hearing Friday morning. A Lexington police officer testified about the circumstances the night of the crash. He said McCargo's wife told investigators the two had been out somewhere else where they'd each had a drink. He said she told them she was the designated driver, so McCargo finished her drink and she drove them to the Chevy Chase area.
They saw a parking spot in front of Charlie Brown's. She was unable to park in that parking spot, and they got into an argument about parking, and that's when Mr. McCargo then took over, and then they attempted to park in the spot at the beer trap. They say that's when the crash happened. Police say McCargo drove away, but his wife returned. His wife came back to the scene and advised that her husband was driving the vehicle and identified him as Jared McCargo. She advised their address. Officers were dispatched to the address where they found Mr. McCargo and his vehicle. Mr. McCargo was hiding behind the garbage cans. Police also said Captain Noel Espino, the Guam National Guard soldier who was badly hurt in the crash, has had several surgeries since it happened. The officer said Espino was standing on the sidewalk outside the beer trap when he was hit. He's still at the trauma center at University of Kentucky Hospital. In Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Police said that McCargo registered a .119 on a preliminary breath test. That is about 1.5 times the legal limit.
In our county-by-county coverage at 5:30, we're tracking stories in Perry and Laurel counties. We begin in Perry County. That's where Hazard police say a man lied about a robbery. Officers were called out to a store, but say the employee's story didn't add up. Eventually, police brought Eric Pennington to the police station where he admitted to the crime.
He wrote out a voluntary statement that he made the story up, took a board and hit himself across the back of the head, and then hid the money in a console in his vehicle.
Police charged Pennington with theft of more than $500 and falsely reporting an incident. In Laurel County, a former Corbin doctor is in jail tonight. 48-year-old Nikhil Paralukar's license to practice osteopathy was suspended back in May. Paralikar was arrested Thursday by Kentucky State Police and agents with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. According to court documents, back in February and March, a grand jury charged him with possessing several firearms. Jail records show Paralikar was booked into the Laurel County Detention Center on a warrant.
If you have any expired or unused medication in your home, you have a chance now to get rid of it this weekend in Lexington. Lexington's MedToss event is set for tomorrow. It's one of many drug take-back events across the U.S. for the DEA National Take-Back Initiative. You can drop off unwanted medication at Kentucky American Water on Richmond Road between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., rain or shine. Looks like, though, we'll see more shine than rain tomorrow in Lexington. The first fall weekend off to a beautiful start. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey's here with our first look at your weekend forecast.
Yes, Sam, starting out the weekend in fine weather fashion, basically as we have been seeing the entire week so far. A lot of thermometers this afternoon touching 80 degrees, upper 70s to low 80s common on our live sky cams now. Jackson, Covington, Frankfort, and Richmond. A little bit of high cloud cover continues to stream in, so if you're out and about on a Friday evening, especially high school football fans, you're going to be outdoors for several hours. Not bad at all. 76 around 7 o'clock. We'll drop it into the mid and upper 60s for the second half of the evening under a partly cloudy sky. Here's Defender. No precipitation, but I've thrown the satellite on here so you can see some of those high clouds that continue to lift in and from the volunteer state of Tennessee, from south to north. Weather headlines. Saturday continues to look great, though. A little bit of chance for a shower creeping into our picture late this weekend and early next week. That may eventually lead to some bigger changes showing up in your 7-day forecast when I come back in a bit.
A groundbreaking today for a new facility that a Southern Kentucky mayor says will create hundreds of jobs for that region and provide a new home for city government.
WKYT's Phil Pendleton tells us about the new Energy Center in Somerset. It's a story that's new at 5:30.
Several hundred turned out this morning for the beginning construction of what will become a new city hall, police station, and utility center. It'll be called simply the Energy Center. The Somerset mayor says the new facility will take advantage of new technologies in terms of energy use, mostly natural gas. Somerset has owned its own natural gas pipeline for decades, and as a result, the mayor says local residents have not had a utility rate increase in years, nor will they for several more years to come. Girdler says 2,000 jobs will be added and a teaming up of the private and public sector.
And with the new capacity we have, then we can have long-term contracts both with industry and small business, so they could be assured to come to Somerset or London or Corbin. It's a whole system, just like the electrical grid.
It is different. This is one of the unique things in the country, as a matter of fact, in the nation. This city, 6 decades ago, began acquiring natural gas reserves in the mountains, piped it here. Now they ship it out also to Texas Gas Transmission.
Construction is expected to be finished in either December 2015 or early 2016. The existing city hall will be torn down to make room for parking. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
The nearly $10 million Energy Center is being paid for in part by a loan from the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Decent money for easy work, but in the end, it turned out to be a scam. As you'll see, eager job seekers ended up trapped in a multi-million-dollar con job. iPhones, cameras, laser printers, all electronic items at the heart of a reshipping scheme racking up $2.8 million in losses for a large number of victims. It begins online, job seekers looking for a way to make extra money.
They posted their resume online to job websites, legitimate job websites such as Monster.com, Career Builder.
Then the job seekers are contacted by a company claiming to be in the export business. They're asked to fill out an application.
Name, address, social security number, date of birth, more information than what you would put on a regular application.
Their job description was simple.
Once they received the parcels at their address, they would then open up the parcel, verify all the contents, and then place it in a new box, tape it up with the shipping label they were given.
Then give the tracking number to their employer, and a short time later they would receive $70 for every package reshipped. Sounds like a good deal, but it isn't. The reshipper is an accessory to a crime.
All the merchandise that was shipped to them was purchased with stolen credit cards.
Postal inspectors got involved and found the packages in this ring were going to Eastern Europe and Russia.
There was in excess of 500 reshippers throughout the United States that were involved.
In addition, investigators fear that the suspects in this case may have sold the personal information of all the job applicants.
Now, their information is in the hands of criminals.
Some advice from postal inspectors: be honest with yourself. You may want the work, but it's not worth going to jail.
If you're being paid a lot of money to do a little bit of work, that's another red flag.
And another red flag when an employer asks for money up front.
A Lexington Clinic employee and her family are raising awareness for cancer by giving up something. Next on WKYT News at 5:30, why they're being brave and shaving.
I'm Bill Bryant. Tough talk from Democrats and Republicans about who should control the Kentucky State House going forward. A preview of Kentucky newsmakers is coming up on The Bottom Line.
A nightmare for an Eastern Kentucky couple. Coming up on WKYT News at 6, 2 men forced themselves into the home of an elderly couple and duct taped them to a chair.
Follow WKYT online at WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
It's up to voters to decide which party should control the Kentucky House.
And Governor Steve Beshear wants Kentucky gaming money to stay in this state. WKYT's Bill Bryant has that and more in the bottom line.
Good evening. The battle for control of the Kentucky House is on the line in the upcoming election, and the two major parties are making their cases for being in the majority. Democratic House Speaker Greg Stumbo and a member of Republican leadership, John Carney, made their cases on this weekend's edition of Kentucky Newsmakers.
If you want to go backward, if you want to be like Mississippi, if you want to be like Alabama, if you want to move Kentucky back, then vote for the Republican platform. But if you want to keep Kentucky moving forward, as we have even in these recessionary times, then we should look to those who have been in power during this time of turmoil, and that's the Democratic Party and Governor Beshear.
We commit to the folks of the citizens of the Commonwealth that we will not be afraid to take on the difficult issues. You have Speaker Stumbo and his leadership team with over 100 years of experience combined. Been 93 years since the House has been under Democrat control, and we feel like they have not taken on the difficult issues that need to be taken on, and we're prepared to do that.
Stumbo also announced that he is filing a medical marijuana bill that he's naming for the late activist Gatewood Galbraith. Kentucky Newsmakers with Stumbo and Carney airs in its entirety Sunday morning at 6 on WKYT and repeat Sunday at 10 a.m. on the CW Lexington. Set your DVR or catch it then. The key issue that Governor Steve Beshear ran on in 2007 may be returning, but faces an uncertain future in the legislature. Beshear continues to support expanded gaming because he says Kentucky money is flowing into other states that have it. But Beshear has acknowledged this week that it is hard to get even those who support it to get on the same page. He told CN2 he remains optimistic but does not see anything coming together ahead of the 2015 legislative session. Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Allison Lundergan Grimes' interview with sports radio host Matt Jones providing more fodder for the campaign trail. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell's re-election campaign criticizing her for supporting closing a loophole that allows guns to be sold at gun shows without a background check. She also said it is worthwhile to discuss recreational marijuana from an economic standpoint. The Grimes camp has quickly clarified she does not support legalizing recreational marijuana. You'll start seeing more political signs next week. Many localities have ordinances that ban those signs until 30 days before an election. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
A brave Lexington Clinic employee shaved her head for cancer awareness.
Today, the atrium at Kentucky One Health Office Park hosted the Watch Her Be Brave and Shave event. Darlene Miller and 6 of her family members shaved their heads as a show of support for her aunt who is battling cancer.
I feel liberated. I feel like a new person in the sense that I not only shaved my hair, but I've done something very courageous and brave for someone I care about.
In addition to raising awareness about cancer, the event also raised almost $400 for the American Cancer Society.
Great cause by those folks out there. Dealing with a little cloud cover across parts of central and eastern Kentucky now. That's a sign of what is rolling into town for the weekend. Question is, will it bring a little rain to where you live? We'll answer that in a moment.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey and First Alert Defender.
Friday afternoon, transitioning into the weekend now, and a Friday evening with a lot of high school football fans getting ready to head out and about. This is the sky that you're going to be seeing out there. A little on the milky side with some high, thin clouds. Those are not going to be producing precipitation, so that is certainly some welcome news. But instead of just that blue wall-to-wall sky that we had earlier in the day and over the past several days, at least I have a little something to talk about on a Friday evening. First time this week, really. Live First Alert Defender, nothing across central and eastern Kentucky. Check out this beautiful shot into parts of the area. This showing a little cloud cover from Mac Kentucky Weather Twitter feed of some clouds coming over a drive-in theater. A picture-perfect view, I think was the label on that one. Live First Alert Defender with some clouds roaming in from Tennessee into the Bluegrass State. And you're going to see a few of those on and off as we go into our Saturday. Doesn't mean you're not going to have some sun. You're going to have plenty of sun tomorrow, maybe a little on the hazy side, upper 70s to low 80s. So if you're heading out to Commonwealth Stadium tomorrow, just going to be out for an extended period of time, sunscreen will come in handy. A lot of low 80s into bluegrass country, but anyone that sees more overcast conditions tomorrow, let's say those clouds are a little thicker than the ones out there now, will keep your temperature into the upper 70s. Don't think too many folks will complain, though, between 78 and, let's say, 81 or 82 degrees. A little bit of cloud cover possible. Southeastern Kentucky area may see a little more sunshine than your neighbors to the south would be in our northern Kentucky zones. Hour-by-hour forecast. It'll take you through the weekend. We'll start you out this evening. How about 11 o'clock? Low and mid-60s. Partly cloudy skies. That'll take us into early tomorrow morning. So if you're getting an early start on tailgating at Commonwealth Stadium, it's upper 50s if you're up and at it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Remember, it's still dark about that time. Into the noontime hour, kickoff out there, 74, 75 degrees. End of the day, pushing 80, and then tomorrow night and into the day on Sunday, we'll see at least the potential for a scattered shower coming into the area. Better chances the farther south and southeast that we live from Sunday into our Monday. 77 Sunday, 75 for Monday. We may hit 80 again into the middle of next week before the pattern looks like it does a 180 on us next weekend. That is likely to include a big fall cold front that arrives on Friday. Fall cold front Friday, that we'll call it, for the opening day of Keeneland out there, with a chance for some showers and storms and gusty winds.
So we'll just enjoy this nice weekend.
Yeah, this looks good right now.
Thank you, Chris.
Rob's next, and the Cats back in action tomorrow afternoon.
Vanderbilt comes in. We'll hear from the new coach of the Commodores, Derek Mason. And Mark Stoops knows his defense has played well, but he's looking for more consistency in one area. Sports is next. The Cats are back home tomorrow afternoon, and as you know, they can end the 17-game SEC losing streak against Vanderbilt. Defensively, Kentucky has played some good football in the early season, but Mark Stoops is looking for better play from his linebackers. Certainly the Cats miss Avery Williamson.
They've played well at times. We've been inconsistent. That's been a big thing. You've heard me talk about it. We've just been inconsistent. We can't miss a fit here or there, or make a mental error, or miss a tackle. We just can't do it. You know, we have to be on point all the time. I think they're working hard. They mean well. They want to do the best they can. We just got to be more consistent, and we need to be more physical at times.
Kentucky is coming off a big game at Florida. The Cats offense cracking out 450 yards. Vanderbilt's new coach Derek Mason has taken notice, starting with quarterback Patrick Toll.
He's a great player, tremendous player. And they have as dynamic a skill group from running backs to receivers, and as we've seen so far. I mean, watching the Florida game, you had a chance to see what these guys can do. Tremendously explosive defensively, structure-wise. You're talking about a 3-4 structure, very similar to us. So we'll have some crossover work this week.
Kentucky and Vanderbilt, they'll tee it up at noon Saturday. It's on the SEC Network. Georgetown plays Kentucky Christian in a matchup of top 25 NAI teams tomorrow. For the Tigers, quarterback Neil Paussat. There is a little bit of sentiment involved in this game. Back in 2011, Paussat played his first game against KCU, rallying the Tigers from a 13-0 hole to win 24-13. Paussat has never left the lineup since.
I mean, I guess you could say that. I mean, it certainly does bring back some memories from 3 or 4 years ago at their place. But, you know, it's just another football game. It's another Saturday to improve for our offense and for our team. So we'd rather come out and play well.
It's great to come in and, you know, get to work with Neil every day. You know, he brings the same mentality, same mindset to every practice, to every game. He's always trying to get better, always trying to hold, you know, the whole offense as a unit to a high standard of play. He's a blast to work with, so it's fun. It's fun stuff.
In the next half hour, we will preview our game of the week, Henry Clay Lafayette. Stay with us here on WKYT.